Okay, what's your name?
Gabe.
Gabe. What is your ethnic background?
So I am Jewish. I was born in Israel, of Ashkenazi descent.
How many Jewish people do you think are on campus here at UC
It's
Davis?
around 10% of the student body, maybe 2 to 3,000. I'm
Okay,
thinking from what I know.
10% is that seems kind of a good size.
Yeah. It
Okay,
definitely above the national average.
okay. Maybe a week or a couple weeks ago, there was a protest out here,
Sure.
and uh, it may have been one of the biggest on UC Davis campus, as far as I heard. Was there any kind of friction between that group, which was in support of Palestine, and Jewish people?
I mean, with the groups that are advocating for Israel and groups advocating for Palestine, thankfully there's been a pretty strict policy on both sides not to interact too heavily with each group. We kind of let each other do our own thing for the most part. There has been a little bit of friction, mainly not with the leadership of the groups, but random students will walk by, they'll say really terrible things. Sometimes small clusters of people at these protests will have their own agenda, their own ideas, and they'll say something terrible, but for the most part, it is not really these two groups that are fighting, if that appears to be the case from anything you've seen.
Okay. Uh, what is are there problematic groups that are surrounding people that are acting civilized between the Palestine side and the Israel side? Are there any problematic groups on campus that you've seen?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of different groups with different political views. I don't want to name any student groups at this time or kind of cause any kind of friction myself, but a lot of the students that have been most vocal in terms of actual dehumanizing language against people are not even Palestinian, not even Jewish, not even Israeli. There are other groups that come in, sometimes not even students. I know a lot of older white socialists will sometimes appear at events, give their own 2 cents that nobody needs. And there's people here that are kind of using this conflict as a chance to express their own prejudices. Like there's people that already are anti-Semitic, and then something like this happens, and they latch themselves onto the movement that's anti-Israel in order to express that anti-Semitism. And there's people that are Islamophobic already, and they latch themselves onto different movements, try to claim that they're helping Israel when in effect they're just hurting Palestinian and Muslim students. You can see this all over the country. A student was rammed at Stanford's campus by just a random adult, I don't think it even was a student, for simply having Arabic lettering on her clothes.
When was this?
I think it was this past week. I'm not sure exactly how long ago. And obviously, I'm sure you've heard of the 6-year-old boy that was stabbed in, I believe, Michigan by an older man that found out he was Palestinian. A Jewish man, older man, was killed during a rally in Los Angeles this week as well, hit in the head by a megaphone, died from cerebral hemorrhage later in the hospital. So this has definitely taken lives, even here, thousands of miles away. Frictions are high, tensions are high, and people are being hurt by this.
Has there been any violence like that on UC Davis that you know of?
A few isolated incidents. There have been examples of graffiti from we don't know who, but most likely students that have come up on the signature eggheads that we have on campus, on some of the buildings. A student was putting up posters about the missing and kidnapped people in Israel, mainly children, and was beat up, had his nose broken. A lot of incidents like this have occurred, but they've been kind of isolated in pockets and not really public. Most of these don't happen in the middle of the day in front of a lot of witnesses, so we're still investigating a couple of these more physical assaults, but we don't have too much information to work with at this time.
In your classes, is this hot issue being discussed in any of your classes?
Not mine as of now, but I have heard from classmates that it's been brought up by professors, and a lot of professors here at Davis are using their own kind of political views to push a narrative at this time, which I think is absolutely not okay. All narratives should be able to be expressed, all political viewpoints should be expressed, and people should be able to feel safe in this academic institution. I have a friend who was in a class in which a professor explicitly said that Hamas is not a terrorist organization or that the murders were in effect justified as a form of resistance. Regardless of context, regardless of the suffering of the Palestinian people, this is not an okay statement to make. Real people died, real people lost their lives, and you have to think about the students that you're affecting here. We have many students on campus that are Israeli, many students that are Jewish. I told you it's 10% of the population. and there's many Palestinian and Muslim students as well. So whenever you say something as a professor or someone in a position of authority, you have to make sure that your words don't have the wrong impact that you're not going for.
So, would you say that the Hamas can be viewed as a terrorist organization, as well as the Palestinians are experiencing hardship? Can those two things?
Those two truths can exist at the same time, and I think that's a paradigm that people aren't really capable of recognizing at this time, especially kind of these naive Westerners at our campus. A lot of people think it's a black and white situation. You have one evil, you have one good. And that is just not how the world works. Countries, power players, politics, it's always a kind of gray area in most cases. So you can vehemently oppose Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and you can say that his coalition is far right and extremist, which it is. And at the same time, you can recognize that what Hamas has done is the singular worst attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Most Jews killed in a single day since the Holocaust. Both truths can exist. Both truths have to be recognized, and we have to be able to support all students on our campus, not just one group.
On UC Davis campus, it's just a feeling, do you feel it's mostly pro-Palestine or mostly pro-Israel?
It really depends where you look. There have been certain faculty heads that have organized massive events with hundreds of students in attendance that are expressing very, very pro-Palestine views. But then at the same time, there are certain administrators that have pro-Israel views. There are certain professors that have pro-Israel views. Among the students, it is definitely a majority pro-Palestine, though.
Do you feel unsafe at all ever on campus because of the issues with that are going on with Palestine and?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In a lot of my classes, especially ones about the Middle East or about international relations and that type, I choose not to mention the fact that I'm Israeli in most cases because it can make conversations difficult. It can make it so people are less likely to work with me. Even if I don't present a view, even if I don't present a perspective on the conflict, if I just say that I'm Israeli or if I speak Hebrew or do anything of that sort, people will feel attacked by that immediately. They'll see it as a very political statement, just my mere existence. And even just being Jewish has been a problem sometimes. The other day at the Hillel House, which is the main kind of Jewish gathering space on this campus, someone biked by, yelled, "Fuck the Jews." And then in another instance, the Chabad rabbi, who's from this other nonprofit that works with students on our campus, he was tabling right here, wearing a kippah, nothing political at all whatsoever represented at his table, not taking any kind of stance, simply being Jewish, has kippah on, so everyone knows he's Jewish, got flipped off by multiple students. People are completely conflating Israel and the Israeli government's policies with all Jewish people and holding us collectively responsible, which is absolutely not okay.
It sounds like a heavy sort of issues that you're dealing with, a lot heavier than normal students on campus because of the conflict that's going on with Israel and Palestine. Has that affected your studies? You're a junior, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. The first couple days after October 7th, when I was still worrying about my family, I didn't go to class. I stayed home. I was watching the news, trying to make sure that nobody I knew was directly affected by this. And then even afterwards, for the next week or two, I had to kind of defend my very existence. Even before a single Palestinian had been killed, before a single Israeli airstrike had occurred, people were already defending the terrorist attack, saying that they were justified, saying their resistance, claiming that I, as an Israeli, am somehow a legitimate military target, even if I'm not a soldier, claiming that Israeli children that were kidnapped were legitimate military targets. This is a widespread issue on our campus. Students, professors, faculty, they have all expressed this kind of viewpoint, and it's scary. It's scary as a Jewish student.
So a professor giving you grades could be biased against you.
Oh yeah, that's another reason that a lot of students neglect kind of expressing the fact that they're Israeli or Jewish in their classes. Sometimes it's better to hide your Star of David, to make sure nobody knows who you are, because it could legitimately impact your grades. This didn't happen at our campus. I forget exactly which campus it was, but a professor, I think it was Stanford actually as well, a professor told the Jewish students in the class to go stand in a corner as part of this kind of physical demonstration of a concept he was teaching. Singled out all the Jewish students, told them to go to one side, which is unbelievable in a kind of higher institution of academia, it's absolutely unacceptable. Students should not be treated this way. At the same time, if someone said, "Oh, if you're Muslim, go stand over there," that's not okay either. If you're singling out students for that identity, it makes them feel unsafe. And there's definitely professors that, if I wrote a paper and had some extremely pro-Israel stance in it, for whatever reason, the professors would grade it down simply for that fact, or would devalue it as such.
Have you been getting good sleep lately?
Better than a few weeks ago, but still not great. This is like
Yeah.
very traumatic. What the actual situation, thousands of miles away, but then also the reactions here. A lot of people I consider my friends, a lot of people I consider my confidants have come out with horrifying statements that devalue my very self, my identity, like who I am as a person. And they think it's okay. They think it's progressive. They think it's the right thing to do, and that's what worries me the most.
Yeah, you guys can't see this on camera, but his eyes are kind of puffy, like there are veins around him. It looks like he's hasn't really gotten much sleep. So the so you're a junior, and college life is supposed to be at least fun sometimes. Have you been able to have a social life? Do you have a significant other? Do you date?
Yeah, I have a significant other. I've tried to maintain some semblance of a social life, although obviously with everything happening, one, had to process everything. Two, I've had to kind of deal with the aftermath. I've had to work. I've had to advocate. I've had to make sure my community is represented and that I can help keep people safe. And then at the same time, I have to catch up on the work that I've missed as a result. So it's been more difficult than usual, keeping up with the kind of normal parts of college life.
What's your major?
International relations and Middle Eastern / South Asian studies. So right there in the thick of it.
Right there in the thick. This is the expert here. So it's not like you guys can come along and teach him. If you guys are goofy guys, people out there, you guys can't come along and teach him. It's like, look, it's a complex issue, right?
Absolutely. That's the one thing I want anyone to take away from this. It's complex. It is difficult to understand. That doesn't mean that there's no such thing as a correct stance to take. And I think the correct stance is being on the side of humanity, being on the side of normal people that just want to live their lives and not be part of this overarching political agenda that dehumanizes people.
So were you born in the U.S.?
No, I was born in Israel. I left at the age of 4, though.
Okay, so you are, I mean, it doesn't get any more Jewish than that, right?
No. Most of my extended family is still there. This conflict has really taken a personal toll on me, for sure.
Most of your family is still there. So wow, I can't imagine that.
It's been difficult.
So why did you decide to come to UC Davis?
Mainly because my family lived close to here at the time. I'd heard really great things about the school. I toured it on multiple occasions. When I first got here, though, I wasn't super involved in Jewish life. I wasn't really going to services, celebrating holidays. My parents were pretty secular. So I didn't really check what the Jewish experience was here before I went here, and only found out later. And it seems that the more involved I've gone with the Jewish community, the more leadership positions I've taken for myself, the more of a target has been painted on my back. I'm in student government. I am in leadership of a couple different Jewish groups, and this has made me known. This has made people kind of attack me in a lot of cases. I've received several hate messages as a result of kind of activism or things I've done in the past relating to the Jewish community.
What is the name of your group?
Aggies for Israel.
Okay, and through that, you've been more well known. People kind of know who you are.
Yeah, I mean, that alongside what I do in student government, because I had to publicly campaign in order to get this position. A lot of people know me. I still wouldn't consider myself like any kind of celebrity. It's student government, not real government. But this has made it so I can't really hide what I say. I have to be careful about what I put out to the world, because people are there watching my every move, and they will come for me if I make even one slight mistake.
What is your position in student government?
I am a senator, one of 12 elected senators in the legislative branch. So my job is to write legislation, to discuss it with my fellow senators and pass it, along with helping with all the other facets for student government.
By the way, we are in like the quad area of UC Davis, which is kind of like the student center where,
Yeah.
and it was right here where they had the protest, Palestine, and it was pretty big. It was loud, megaphones and all that stuff.
Several hundred students. Yeah.
Were you in the area?
Yeah, speaking of the fact that people know me, I was standing there just kind of watching, seeing what was happening. And one of the students with a megaphone, while chanting, "Stop bombing Gaza," pointed the megaphone in my direction while saying it as if I myself personally am the one bombing Gaza. Because I'm Israeli, because I'm an outspoken, proud Jewish person on campus. It's somehow my fault. I'm responsible. Which just shows kind of the atmosphere and how people feel at this moment. I understand that tensions are high. I understand that emotions are high and people have lost loved ones, people have lost friends. But I would never come out and blame the Palestinian students on this campus for the violence going on over there. I would never equate the Palestinian students here with Hamas. Never. So I think that's the difference between kind of where I'm at and some of the other people here that maybe aren't so nuanced in their understanding of the conflict, that really have only one side they're pushing. That causes dehumanization. It's not good versus evil.
Yeah, it was like I was interviewing another student who was not really involved on either side,
Yeah.
and she made the remark that she wishes the protests really were more kind of objective and kind of presented your side and we could talk to each other.
Yeah.
Kind of situation. It's an emotionally charged issue. But I will say that because of the loud protests, it caused me to listen more. I'm not taking either side. I'm listening more,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to find out more.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we probably wouldn't be able to pull off something like this in Davis because there's simply more people on the pro-Palestine side among our generation.
Yeah, and so if 10% of if he's 10, Jewish is about 10%, that's about 3,500 Jews maybe.
Yeah, approximately. Although that doesn't mean that all 3,500 would be advocates for
Right.
Israel or
Right.
would be publicly associating themselves with this. A lot of people, like I said, hide the fact that they're Jewish. They just want to get through college, kind of fit in with people, not be controversial in any sense. And that makes it so the people that are super involved, the people that are going out to these things, the people that are rallying and advocating, it's a very, very small percentage. I can't say exactly how much, but way smaller than this 10%. And then with the pro-Palestine side, a lot more people are able to advocate. A lot more people are able to kind of be out there and support because it seems like the easier thing to do. It seems like the more quote-unquote progressive. I don't think it's a progressive versus not progressive issue, but people think it is. People think that to be pro-Palestine is progressive, kind of left-wing liberal in a sense, and to be pro-Israel is kind of right-wing, reactionary, conservative. It's not that. There are a lot of different views among the Israeli population. There's a lot of different views among Zionists. Like, for example, there's like religious Zionism, there's secular Zionism, there's right-wing, left-wing, all different kinds. It's really not a kind of uniform position to hold. A lot of people are very different. With that, I do think I probably have to run, though. But.
Oh, okay. I appreciate it. One last question.
Sure.
What do you plan to do after graduation?
I mean, I hope to participate in peace building within Israel-Palestine interfaith dialogue. I want to incorporate Arab citizens more into Israeli society, and then also at some point, hopefully, engage in the peace process, both with Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, and then also throughout Arabs throughout the region. That's my hope.
And do you think you made the right decision to coming to UC Davis?
Yes and no. I mean, it's been difficult. Definitely had my struggles here, especially in the past few weeks and when other kind of escalations like this happen. But I think it is also definitely the right choice because it has exposed me to the kind of viewpoints that I'm going to have to manage, the kind of viewpoints I'm going to have to contend with, people I have to convince. And I've been successful at times. I've been able to make people change their minds. And that's more important than winning a debate. It's more important than appearing smarter than other people. If you can change someone's mind and change their perspective, that is the truest victory that you can have in a space like this.
Absolutely. What was your second choice if not UC Davis?
I was thinking of going to American University in D.C., but it ended up being too expensive. That was
The money.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you very much.
of course. Yeah.
All right. That was great.
Have a good one, man.
Thank you.